Guys, in this video I'm going to tell you how I got married in the Philippines and why I haven't seen my wife for 4 years. It's a really strange story and it's probably going to come in 2 parts. So if you want to find out how that turns out, then stay tuned to the latest episode of the G-Log.
Meet radio and television personality Gaz Reynolds, the founder of World Domination Records and Great Drive Driving School. Like, comment and subscribe to be part of the journey. This is Gaz Reynolds, the G-Log.
The G-Log album is now on sale worldwide. Get your copy now. Available at YouTube Music, Spotify and all major outlets around the world. Links in the description below. Welcome to another exciting episode of the G-Log. Good morning from...
Hi! We're here in holiday spa hotel.
in
Cebu.
in the Philippines, and
Yeah.
it's lovely weather here. If only you could see the lovely pool that we're looking at just over there, and we're just waiting for our nice continental breakfast.
What you have?
I forget, but anyway, I'm eating something, I know.
You love cappuccino there.
Yeah, I've got a lovely cappuccino here, and we're heading off to Milan, and then we'll be doing another broadcast from there, I should think. Bye bye. Bye. Now, I don't usually make videos like this, but every so often I like to do stories about my life, and I thought that you guys might be interested in this one because I actually haven't seen my wife for 4 years. Really strange. We got married and I actually had to leave her the day after. Well, actually, let me start from the beginning. This video is pretty different from what I usually make. I thought I'd tell you guys about how I married my wife in the Philippines. It's a long story. She's Filipino, by the way, if you didn't know. Here's some pictures of our wedding day. So what actually happened was 4 years ago, I had a client who introduced me to her sister, but we were only friends online. It's a long story and it's a really bizarre story, so it's probably going to come in 2 parts. And I'm literally, without sort of talking too much, thought I'd just tell you right from the beginning. It's really strange. So basically, I had an Australian girlfriend years back, and I was with her for 8 years, and then we split up and she went back to Australia and I stayed in the UK. We probably would have got married, a long story, but in the end it just didn't happen. Anyway, I had this really strange dream around about the time that I split up with my Australian girlfriend, and I dreamt that I was going to marry an oriental looking woman with blonde hair. Now, of course, you know, I have dreams, everybody has dreams, so you kind of think nothing of it, but this one stayed in my mind, and as I'd actually had a dream years back where I dreamt that I married an American woman and that actually happened, I started to wonder if this dream was going to come true as well, and it did. And I'm not making this up, and I know some of you guys might actually think that I'm making this story up, but it genuinely isn't made up at all. So what happened was my client, I've owned several businesses, and one of my clients actually kind of mentioned her sister to me, and so her sister actually got in contact with me, and I didn't know that she was in another country. I was chatting on Facebook, but as soon as I saw her face I realised that that was the woman that I'd seen in my dream. Very, very strange. The only difference is that the woman that I was talking to had brown hair and not blonde hair, so I never actually told her anything about this dream. Anyway, we had very similar personalities. I hadn't been on holiday for 10 years. To cut a long story short, something told me go to the Philippines and meet this lady. I do crazy things like this. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm completely crazy, so this is very much in par, if you like, with my personality. So what do? I jump on the plane, I go to the Philippines, never been there before, don't know what to expect, but I'm really excited to meet this woman, and she's really excited to meet me. Now the strange thing is, her sister, who was a client of mine, lives just down the road from me, so I became friends with her and her husband. So it wasn't something that was kind of fraudulent or anything like that. This was completely something that I wanted to do, and I wanted to find out if that dream was true. So the weird thing is, I end up in the Philippines, and oh my god, my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, and I got on so well that we were actually so similar in personality that we ended up making all these crazy video diaries. Now I have shown some of these before, but here's a few little clips now, just so that if you're new to my channel, you can actually see how well we actually got on. Oh, and I'll include some pictures as well. We're going to do a sensible video, okay? No more pulling faces. Sensible only, okay? And there she goes again, silly faces. Mind you, some people probably say she's got a silly face all the time. Gaz Reynolds here, and we're just heading out to Manila, and we're having to walk to the plane, and I think that might be due to cutback, which teaches us a lesson not to buy. Yeah, look here. Here's the plane, so we're just heading out onto it now. Don't be surprised if they ask us to walk to Manila, because it looks like we might have to. Bye. Gaz Reynolds here, and we're in Manila, and I just wanted to let you know that we've just been shooting a very cool video for my new Electric Kama Sutra record, remixed by Somiak in Peru, very good friend of mine, and it'll be available worldwide on iTunes very soon, so keep an eye out, and hopefully I'll see you soon. So as you can see, totally crazy, and most of those videos were made in the first few days that we actually met, and we continued to make videos like that all the way for the whole month that I was in the Philippines. Now the strange thing is, here's what happened. We had a great time, we got on really well, and we actually fell in love. We genuinely fell in love, and we're still in love now, but we're apart, and I'm going to come to that part in a minute. I think I said part a couple of times there. But basically what happened was, one of my subscribers to my YouTube channel was actually watching all these video diaries that we was making. And by the way, I wasn't a vlogger then, so I wasn't doing this show at that particular moment in time, but I actually believe that making those video diaries with my wife led me on to making the G-log that I'm making now, which you're watching. So to cut a long story short, what happened is, this subscriber of mine was watching our video diaries, and she felt so inspired by how well we were getting on, and we were saying we wanted to get married, and you know, even though we'd only just met, and it was all kind of crazy and new and exciting. And this lady, she actually contacted me on Facebook and said, tell your wife to check her inbox. Now this is honestly true, this story. So I told my wife, who wasn't my wife then, if that makes sense, to check her inbox, and she checked her inbox, and there was, I don't know, thousands of pounds there, which this lady had sent because she wanted us to get married. We couldn't believe it. Now there was no way we could send the money back, and as it turned out, that this lady, she lives in the UK, and she lives just down the road from me. And if you're watching, I love you. I won't mention her name though, because she might be, you know, that maybe she doesn't want her name mentioned. In fact, she said she didn't. So, long story cut short, we ended up getting married. Great wedding. It was all kind of crazy and fun, and all the family were there, and friends, and everybody. Had a wonderful time in the Philippines. Unfortunately, the day after our wedding, I had to return back to the UK. Now many people have actually asked, why didn't you take your wife back? Well, UK immigration laws won't allow that. We were actually advised by an immigration advisor in the Philippines that we had to be apart for at least 6 months, and we had to write and prove that we'd actually were in love and we wanted to be married and live together. So I never had any intention of living in the Philippines, although I wouldn't mind staying there for a longer period in the future. However, I can't do that at the moment, and I'll explain that later. It's very crazy, this story. So what happened, we've got married. Hope I'm not waffling too much, I do have a tendency to do that sometimes. And I had to go back to the UK. We had to be apart for 6 months, but the strange thing was, one of my careers when I came back to the UK exploded, and literally I ended up on a whole range of radio and television shows. It was something that was unexpected, and it just completely dominated my life. I wasn't going to say no to the work, and it just went completely crazy, and I was working around the clock for a whole year. So I didn't get round to the visa thing, and applying for the visa so my wife could come here. She was probably getting quite frustrated and upset with me and depressed, and to be quite honest with you, we were both depressed. But I had to follow this line. Something was telling me, you've got to follow this career, and I'm glad I did, but it was at the kind of sacrifice of me applying for the visa and going through all that process, because I just didn't have the time. I know it's a terrible excuse, but at the same time, when you're having television contracts thrown at you and all kinds of stuff, you're not going to say no, are you? So whilst all this TV stuff was exploding, actually I'll show you some of those TV clips now, just in case you are new to my channel, so that you know what I'm talking about. So here's a few clips now from some of those TV shows that I've been on.
Hi, I'm Gaz Reynolds, the founder of World Domination Records, and I've just released my new album, the wedding album, on the label.
Meet Gaz Reynolds, the owner of Great Drive Driving School and the face of record label World Domination Records. Throughout this short documentary, we take a peek into Gaz's life, exploring his history and looking at where he sees himself in the future. This is Gaz Reynolds' The Story So Far.
Out now, Gaz Reynolds' new album, The Wedding Album, as featured on Big Review TV and Radio Harrow. Available at iTunes and all major outlets worldwide.
So as you can see, they're the TV clips, and they're only a few. There was just tons and tons and tons and tons of TV shows coming in, and radio interviews as well. And so what happened was that I got busy with all of that, but I didn't know that I was actually unwell. And this is where it gets kind of really complicated with the story, and this is why it might end up being 2 parts. So basically what happened was the TV career that exploded then developed into 2 companies approaching me and making documentaries about me. And when those documentaries were being made, and actually I'll show you some clips from those now, so just check these out.
Sunny 99.5 on a Friday afternoon. Tom Yarbrough on the phone with Gaz Reynolds. He's got a brand new hit, and we've been playing it in this house. We're going to play in a couple of minutes here. Gaz, this is a long-distance phone call.
It certainly is, Tom. I'm calling from London in the UK.
How's the weather in London?
Pretty bad, as always, I'm afraid.
All right, Gaz, we're going to play your single, In This House, right now on Sunny FM.
Well, my mum always used to say that I was pretty funny, and she said that I should be a stand-up comedian. And I said, why is that? And she said, because with a face like yours, you're going to make anyone laugh. When I was very, very young, I wanted to be an actor, or because I had been in a children's home when I was a child, when I was very young, I also thought that I might want to go into social work, and strangely enough, I kind of went into the social work. So then I soon realised that I had these creative elements to my personality, and so I started writing songs, and I started relating or writing things about what I'd actually experienced in life. What I wanted to do was push the music career more forward. So once I'd qualified as a social worker, I do remember my manager quite often giving me time off to go and do interviews in UK magazines.
So as you can see, a couple of documentaries there, really exciting times, but I didn't know that I was sick, and I noticed that my stomach was starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, you know, I like to eat out sometimes, but I was actually working out all the time, so I was quite surprised that my stomach was starting to blow out, and then I started to get quite sick, and I was sick for about a month. and I didn't know why. Well, I got so sick in the end that I thought I had some kind of stomach bug. I actually went to my GP, my doctor, and he did a blood test and he said, you've got something very dangerous in your body, you need to go to the hospital now. Unfortunately, I'm quite stubborn and I tend to put work first, my businesses first, which is really stupid. So I carried on working and I didn't take his advice. Very stupid. It ended up with me not being able to get out of bed, and the ambulance had to be called, and I was rushed into hospital to be told that I had sepsis, which is basically blood poisoning, and I was told that I've got 2.5 hours to live, you need to have an emergency operation. Well, by this time I was so out of it, even my wife didn't know what was going on because I was so sick. She hadn't heard from me for probably about 2 or 3 weeks, and I lost so much weight because I hadn't been eating or drinking for 4 weeks. Can you believe it? 4 weeks. So I'd become really skinny, to the point of where you could see all my ribs and everything showing through. It was a terrible time. Anyway, I had to have this emergency surgery. I almost died, ended up in a kind of mini coma, and I was in the hospital on life support for about, well, actually it was for 4 weeks. I thought I was going to die. I think I even had a heart attack in there. My lungs collapsed. In fact, I'm going to show you something that's not very nice. I've shown it on videos before, but I'm going to show you what actually happened to me. It's pretty bad. So if you don't like horrible things like cuts and all that kind of stuff, turn away now. So as you can see, not good at all. Well, it then ended up that I was not able to work for about a year. So luckily I had savings, but I didn't have any income coming in. So even at that point, if I was actually planning to get my wife a visa, I wouldn't have been able to start the process because I wasn't actually working. I was ill, so I had to recover from my operation. Now unfortunately, whilst I am able to walk around and stuff, I've got a whole load of complications from that operation, and I'm hoping to go for another operation at some point in the middle of next year. So I will be probably doing even more videos. Even watch out for those hospital vlogs because they'll be coming soon. So to cut a long story short, because this is quite a long story, which I'm hoping to get down to 1 episode now because I've actually started making the video, but like I said, I might have to do an update anyway, a part 2, to let you know what's actually going on. But anyway, so of course I couldn't apply for the visa at that point, and then we had Brexit and all this uncertainty of the UK, and so I've actually told my wife we need to hang on and just wait and see what happens with this election, what's happening with the immigration laws and all that kind of stuff before we can actually make a decision. It might be that once I've had my operation, or when I'm having my operation, my wife might come over here for 6 months because I can apparently apply for a visa for her to come on compassionate grounds, but it's not guaranteed. But it's highly likely that I would be able to get her on compassionate grounds here for 6 months. So I'm fingers crossed, keeping my fingers crossed for that, and that's where the part 2 video might come into effect. But in the meantime, of course, we haven't seen each other for 4 years, and that is crazy. We have to talk on the phone, well, on Messenger, every single day, or usually every single day, unless we're both extremely busy. And by the way, I haven't actually heard from her for a couple of days. So the internet connections out in the Philippines can be really bad at times, and phone connections as well. So it's a nightmare. That's all I can say. But anyway, that's my story as to why I have been married for 4 years but haven't seen my wife for 4 years. It's very sad. I acted on a dream that I actually saw. It came true. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering about the lady with the blonde hair that I saw in my dream, well, when I returned back to the UK after we got married, my wife actually dyed her hair blonde. I never told her about this dream that I had with the blonde hair. So I did tell her after I saw it, because then I said to her, now I know that I was supposed to marry you because you look exactly as what I saw in the dream. As I said, very strange story. If you've enjoyed this video, because it's a little bit different from what I usually do, but I felt I wanted to make it and kind of explain why my wife's not here, because she would probably be a massive part of my show. She's very funny. She's just kind of like me, really. God help us. And so when we do actually finally meet, the videos are going to be fantastic anyway. You know, we're going to be it'll be all crazy. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a big thumbs up, and well, particularly if you're from the Philippines, if you're even from the UK and you're living in the Philippines, because I know a lot of YouTubers are actually moving to the Philippines and their careers are taking off big time, then please leave your comments down below, because I'd love to hear from you. And if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. As I said, leave those comments down below, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. That's the end of today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. If you've enjoyed today's video, then please share it absolutely everywhere. Totally would appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you all, thank you all, thank you
Hi mortals, I'm Jesus. You can now purchase Gaz Reynolds Presents The G-Log, Album Volume 1 from Apple Music, Spotify, and all major outlets around the world. Includes the massive hits Electronic Kama Sutra, I Only Hear You, and Dark Lady. This is one heavenly experience you won't forget. By the way, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification button so that you can watch every episode of the G-Log religiously.
Out now, Gaz Reynolds' new album, The Wedding Album, as featured on Big Review TV and Radio Harrow. Available at iTunes and all major outlets worldwide.